Hey guys, what's up? I hope you all are doing fine. And in the previous video, we learned about equilibrium in consumption and their simultaneous equilibrium. And I also showed you that at any arbitrary point on budget line, it is not possible that at any arbitrary point on budget line there will be efficiency in the market. Okay, I showed you that also by showing the IC on two different sides. Okay, so guys, now we will discuss about the Walras law. Okay, so this is our first topic for today's class. Walras law. This is also known as algebra of equation. Both are the same thing. Okay, so for a two-person economy having endowment of good 1 and good 2, we can explain market equilibrium by writing their gross demand function, right? So we can explain equilibrium as a set of prices P1 star, P2 star, which is the prices at the equilibrium quantity, such that now we will write down the gross demand function. It is just saying that we can explain market equilibrium by writing their gross demand function. We have just read till that only now. So we can write down the gross demand function, that is quantity of x1 with a at prices P1 comma P2 star. This is the equilibrium prices. Okay, similarly x1b P1 star P2 star. What will it be equal to? It will be equal to obviously endowment. Okay, so now this was for the good 1. Now similarly you can write for good 2. Yes, this will be x2a P1 comma P2 star. Similarly x2b P1 star P2 star W2a plus W2a. Okay, this we have already studied also. So now these equation says that in equilibrium total demand for each good shows to be equal to the total supply. It only shows that the total demand of good is equal to the total supply. Okay, so what can be the another way to describe an equilibrium? We can describe equilibrium in terms of net demand. I've already told you that also, but we will again do this. Okay, this is just the basic which I'm taking you from the basic level. Okay, we will know what is Walras law at the end. After that we all do this workings. Okay, so you can write down the net demand function as for good 1. Similarly, if you want to write for good 1, what will it be? You will take this RHS into LHS. Okay, so this will be x1a, and now you should know in mind that it is at P1 star and P2 star. I am not writing it again. x2a minus w1a plus x1b minus w1b is equal to 0. Okay, similarly you can net dd, I can write here, this gross. Similarly for good 2 you can write x2a minus w2a plus x2b minus w2. So this is the another way of presenting the equilibrium. Okay, so these equation says that the sum of net demand for each consumer for each good should be equal to 0. Now we will define the net demand function as an excess demand function. Okay, so now I will be expressing this net demand function as the excess demand function. So now guys, we call this as x1 minus w1 as E1. Okay, so this will be E1 of A. And what are the prices? At prices P1 star comma P2 star. Similarly it is E1 of B at prices P1 star comma P2 star. This is actually just a way of presenting this net demand only, because we we already know that net demand V is represented by E1, and E1 is equal to X1A minus W1A. So this function we call it as excess demand function. Okay. Okay. So similarly you can do for G1, G2. What will it be? No, I'll write down again also there. So now we got this for good one. Okay. Now if you have to write it in a single function, this was still in the net demand function, because you know that E1 is net demand only, and which is equal to X1A minus W1A. So this is still a net demand function. Now we have to write it in an excess demand function. So what do we do in excess demand function? We denote it as Z1. Okay, we denote this whole equation as Z1. So this will be Z1 at P2 comma P1 comma P1 star comma P2 star. So this is your aggregate demand for good one. Now Z1 is aggregate DD for G1, good one. Okay, so these two equations you should remember for excess demand function. Okay, similarly you can write for good 2 also. This will be E2 here. I am writing it in the form of Z only. Z2 P1 star comma P2 star is equal to 0. So what does it tell about? So from this it follows that if aggregate excess demand for good 1 is 0, then aggregate excess demand for good 2 must necessarily be a 0. Okay guys, it just shows that this function shows that if the excess demand for this is 0, then excess demand for good 2 must be also equal to 0. Like if this is 0, then excess demand for good 2 must be necessarily a 0. Okay, so also this is the statement of Waller's law also, but we will prove it again now in a good manner. Okay, so in order to prove this, it is convenient to establish a property of aggregate excess demand function we have just derived now, which is known as Waller's law. I have already told you that it is known as Waller's law only, which I just stated that. So Waller's law states that value of aggregate excess demand is identically 0. Okay, so now we will start our workings again. So I am taking again for person A. Okay, so now what will be the budget line for A? Okay, I'll write down first the budget line for A. So you already know the formula for budget line. P1 X1A at prices, X1A prices at P1 comma P2. Now we are not taking P1 star and P2 star. Okay, because this is not the equilibrium price we are taking. We are drawing at a general level, not at a specific level. Okay, P2 comma X2A at P1 comma P2 is equal to P1 W1A, right, plus P2 W2A. Okay, so this is the budget line for A. So now we will make it in form of net demand. So what will be net demand here? It will be P1 X1A P1 comma P2 at P1 comma P2 minus W1A. I am just taking the RHS to LHS the same we did before. Okay, and P1 I took common outside. Similarly here I am taking P2 outside, X2A P1 comma P2 minus W2A. This will be equal to 0. So this we have created our net demand function. So if you can write this as E1, I'll segregate again, I'll short it out. E1A at P1 comma P2. Similarly here P2 into E2A at P1 comma P2, which is equal to 0. So now we mark this as equation 1. So similarly, what will be for person B? Can I write it? Can I write the final equation from this also? Because it will just change in the it will just change in the x2. Okay, so here it's A and A, and there it will be B and B. Okay, so I am directly writing the equation. It will be P1 E1 B P at P1 comma P2 plus P2 E2 B at P1 comma P2, which is equal to 0. So now this is our equation 2. So now what we will do, we will add the equation 1 and 2. So 1 plus 2 implies, now if I add these two equations, what will be the result? Okay, so we will write it again, the result. It will be, if you see here, you will take P1 common, and inside it will be E1 A P1 comma P2 plus E1 B P1 comma P2. Similarly here P2 common, E2A P1 comma P2 plus E2B P1 comma P2 is equal to 0. So this will come. So now we have earlier studied also, we have seen that what do we call this? This is the excess demand function, right? And we can write it as Z1, right? So this will be P1 Z1 P1 comma P2 plus P2 Z2 at P1 comma P2, okay, is equal to 0. So as we have already, as I already told you that Walras law hold true for all the prices. So it must be true for equilibrium prices also. Okay, so at equilibrium prices, we can also write this equation at equilibrium prices, since it is true for all the prices. So I am taking it as at a equilibrium price now. So it will be P1 star at Z1 comma P1 comma P2 star. Okay, this is this equation at the equilibrium prices. P2 star Z2 P1 star P2 star is equal to 0. Okay, clear till here? So now from this equation it follows that if we find a set of price P1 star comma P2 star where demand for good one is equal to supply of good one, then it is guaranteed that demand for good 2 must be equal to the supply for good 2. Like see, we have to find the set of price P1 star and P2 star, and at that price the demand for good one will be equal to the is equal to the supply for good one. Then this implies, what we have find it out now, it implies that the demand of good 2 also must be equal to the supply of good 2. So if I tell you in the general term, if there are markets for k number of goods, okay, there are market for k number of goods, then we only need to find a set of prices where k minus 1 number of market are in equilibrium. In that case, Walras law imply that market for kth good will be automatically in equilibrium. Okay, so this is implied by the Walras law, that you need to find out the set of prices for the k minus 1 number of markets, if I talk in general terms. And in that case, when you find out this, so it will, through Walras law, it will imply that the market for kth good will be automatically be in equilibrium. Okay, so this is implied by this is your Walras law. Okay, so from this it follows that there is only k minus 1 number of independent equilibriums, but we have to determine prices for kth number of goods. Okay, since see, it is saying that we have only k minus 1 number of independent equilibrium, but for these also we need to find out the prices for both, for kth terms also, right? So it is just saying that. So but how do we solve this now? Like here also you have calculated for good one, right? You have calculated for good one that it will be equal to 0. So it will similar, so it implies that for good 2 the market will also be in equilibrium, that demand and supply will be equal if you have done for k minus 1 number of good. I have taken 2 goods only, so I am giving you the example of 2 goods only. Okay, but here we have to still find out the prices of kth number of good. We have to find the price of both the goods, right? P1 and P2. So similarly, if you talk in general terms, there will be k minus 1 number of independent equilibrium, but still we have to determine the prices of k number of good, right? So this is kind of problem. Okay, so what will we do to solve this problem? That we will take price of one product as a numeraire. You know numeraire, which we will take it equal to the 1. Okay, and the price of other good will be expressed relative to that price. That is why it is said that in general equilibrium model we determine relative prices, not absolute prices. Okay, got it till here? So till here your theory is finished of Walras law. Now I will use this theory and apply it in the numerical, that how we will apply this theory and how we will take the so let's do one numerical here. Okay, so this is the first numerical, and you have given the details that there are two persons A and B, and utility function is given as ux1 comma x2 is equal to x1 dot x2. Similarly here utility function for B is minimum of x1 comma x2, right? So this is the well behaved one, and this you can see this is the utility function for the perfect complements, right? And endowment is given as 0 comma 10. Here endowment is 20 comma 5. Okay, till here question is clear. Okay, now let's move on to the next one. Okay, so the first part is that find market equilibrium relative prices. Okay, and the second part is find gross demand and net demand for both the person. Okay, these are the two parts. So now what we will first do, we know the step 1 that we will consider one good as a numeraire. So which good you want to consider as numeraire? So let's consider good 1. Okay, we will consider good 1 as a numeraire now. Okay, and if I tell you the steps, okay, let me first tell you the step of numerical. First, step 1 will be that take any one good price as a numeraire. So I'll suggest you to take always good 1, or if you see it will be easy if you take good 2, then take good 2. So but for the sake of simplicity I am saying that let good 1 be numeraire, that is price of 1 is equal to 1. So this is our step 1. And if you go into step 2, you have to now find out the demand function for good 2 as a function of P2. Okay, simple. You have to now find out the demand function for the good 2. And in the step 3 you have to find out the equilibrium condition for good 2, that is x2a plus x2b is equal to w2a plus w2b. From this you will get everything in terms of P, and you will calculate your P2. Similarly, if you calculate your P2, you already have set P1 as a numeraire which is equal to 1, so you will get the relative ratio, and if you put them into the demand function you will get their demands, gross demand. And now if you subtract their gross demand from the endowment, you will get your net demand. So this is the process we are going to follow in this question also. So let's take person A here, person B. Okay, so first of all let P1 is equal to 1. Okay, cool. Now what we have to do, we have to find out demand function of good 2. Okay, now we are finding out demand function of good 2 for both. So let me take his, and you have studied the demand function of perfect complement in your SEM 3, so I won't be teaching that. Okay, that how do we calculate, I won't be able to teach now. I will teach it in the SEM 3 series, which I will be producing after completing SEM 4, okay, or later on. So similarly here you have calculated for x2 for B, here also calculate x2A, and you know the demand function of well behaved utility function is m upon 2p2. Okay, so this will be, what is your m? So for m, I'll tell you what is your m. M is actually the endowment at the prices. So if you see here, the endowment of first one is 0,10 and the second one is 20,5. So just remember that. So if I want to calculate the money income, what will I do? I will multiply it with the prices at the end and add. So what will it be? P1 into 0 plus P2 into 10. P1 into 0 is 0. So what we are left with money income? 10P2. I'm writing here also. M is equal to 0 into P1 plus 10 into P2, which is equal to 10P2. So this will be 10P2 upon 2P2. So this get cancelled out and you get x2a is equal to 5. Similarly here if you put the value, so now you have to take from this one 20,5. okay, the endowment is 20,5 now. So here your m will be 20 into P1, P1 is 1 plus 5 into P2. So this is your m. So if you write it down here, it will be 20 plus 5 P2 your m. And what is P1? P1 is 1 plus P2 is unknown still. So now we move on to the third step. And what is our third step? That we will use the equilibrium condition for good 2 to find the P2. Okay, so it will be equilibrium condition for G2. It will be x2a plus x2b is equal to W2a plus W2b, right? So what is x2a? x2a is 5. We have already calculated 5 plus x2b is this one 20 plus 5p2 upon 1 plus p2. And what is W1a? Sorry, what is W2a? So W2a is already given. For W2a is 10 and similarly W2b is 5. Okay, and we will not take prices here since we are dealing with the units now. So also equilibrium condition is for units only. So we can directly write 10 for W2a and 5 for W2b. Okay, you can see from here also it is W2b and it is W2a. Okay, so now if you solve this whole equation in terms of P2, you can easily calculate P2, and P2 will be, and it will be 10 minus 1. So P2 will get, I think it will be 2. Yes, P2 will be 2 now. And P1 we already have discussed. P1 is 1. Okay, so our first part is complete. Find the market equilibrium relative prices. Relative prices is 2:1 or 1:, P1 upon P2. So 1:2. We know the relative prices now. Okay, so now we have to find out the gross demand and net demand. So first we will find out the gross demand. This is very easy part. Any kid can do it. So what is gross demand? So let's take for A first. So it will be x1a, it will be x2a. So we have already calculated x2a. X2a is 5, right? And what is the total endowment for A? It will be m upon 2p1, right? And what is m? M is 10 into 2, 10 into p2. P2 is 2. It will be 20. So 20 upon 2, it is 10. Okay, so this is for A. Now similarly, if you calculate for B, also you can directly write for B. We have what we have done here, x2a plus x2b is equal to this. So it will be sum total is equal to 15, and we know that x2a has come out to be 5. So what will be your x2b? 15 minus 5. And what is 15 minus 5? It is 10 units. And if you want to calculate from demand function, you can calculate from there also. M will be 30 from here. 5 into 2, 10. 10 plus 20, 30. 30 plus P1 plus P2, that is 1 plus 2. It is also equal to 10. And since it is perfect complement, so these both are equal. Okay. Okay, so now the last part, which is again so easy, net demand. So for net demand, it's very easy. You just have to subtract it from the endowment. I'm just doing for A. You do for the other part at your home. So what will it be? 10 minus net endowment, we already know 0. So 10 minus 0, it will be for A. And similarly, E to B, E to A, it is 5 minus what was there? 10. It is equal to minus 5. Similarly for B also you will get this, and you can see here summation is equal to 0, here also summation is equal to 0. So guys, this lecture is over now and Walras theorem is over.